Good evening, everyone. Yes. All right, meeting's been called to order. And we, first thing on the agenda of every meeting is last meeting's minutes, which you sent out a long time ago, as I recall, right? Oh, yeah, I think it's on the opera. Did anybody read them?
Yes. That's what I'm holding.
Any issues, comments on the minutes?
Didn't see any.
Don, would you like to make a motion that we approve the minutes?
You say me?
Yes.
I make the motion to approve the minutes of May 17, 2023. I'll second.
Do I have a second? Joan seconds it. All those in favor of approving the minutes from last month's meeting, say aye. Catherine? Aye. Thank you, Catherine. The minutes are approved. And Greg will follow up with forwarding them to Denise for posting on the website. Sound good? Okay. Fortunately, put the most ticklish issue next. Update on letter to the Department of Conservation and Recreation regarding mitigation measures. I thought I had done it, but I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The treasurer's report, our general fund is $1,000. Our donation fund is $917.17, and our new article fund is $25,000, which put there on July 1st.
Good. All right. Didn't mean to skip Joan at all. Thank you. All right. Update on the letter to the Department of Conservation and Recreation regarding the mitigation measures for loss of the North Fund, formerly the supply building for the CCC camp. Back in May, we drafted a letter, we all reviewed it, and I forwarded the letter. I mailed the letter to Brian Arrigo, Commissioner, and I have heard nothing.
Not surprised.
And I was hoping you'd come here saying you guys got a letter.
No, because I felt that was your letter. I'm standing back, but if you'd like me to follow up on it, I will.
Find me a phone number, email to the.
Okay. Yep.
And that's what it's on the ticker. Brian Arrigo, Commissioner for the DCR, Massachusetts DCR. I'm not surprised, I'm disappointed that no one responds in any fashion. Listen.
I've been doing this for 10 years, so I'm not surprised, but yeah, it takes some tickling here and there. And so yeah, let me first get you email or phone number of the commissioner, and then I'm gonna try to get somebody like under him. I've got a couple people in mind.
Well, if you get me a phone number and a call, I'll guarantee you he's not going to answer.
No, he's not. But I was thinking Patricia,
Okay, sure.
Priscilla, maybe, or is it Julie Martin?
I have no idea.
Okay, all right, I'll find
I
out.
should have sent a certified return receipt request.
Well, you can always do that as a follow-up. Since I've not heard from you, I assume that you didn't receive my letter. But yeah, I will get you that information.
I'm going to drop it.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. That's good.
And in conjunction with that, we had talked last time about running up the street and touring the site. And Bill, you said you would be the tour guide and then we could arrange that.
And in the meantime, Alan has talked with Kevin Allen and his new assistant,
Grace
Grace. You know Grace's last
McCabe, I think.
McCabe. But in any case, they're responsible for the work that's being done on the headquarters building at this point, between DCR and BVT. Are you interested in a tour of the headquarters site or something a little bit broader than that? We could show you some of the resources that are in the forest if you wanted to take a longer walk.
Let me see, so.
Okay,
Okay.
so,
So I think we should walk the district, the Historic Resources District.
the whole district?
Yeah, we'd walk down to Dean Pond and come back up. I mean,
Okay. Do you mean the campsite or do you mean the district? The district encompasses
CCC camp.
camp, okay,
Tell me what that is.
all right,
Is that-
well, there's the campsite and then the National Register CCC Resources Historic Districts includes some of this, includes structures and other things and other construction things in the forest that the CCC built. Which are-
Back to see the whole thing.
Well, the walk itself is probably about 3 miles round trip. So you get to walk the road they built and see some of the campsites they built and so on and so forth. And look across Dean Pond towards the dam.
it
We
might,
did that sometime in September, but maybe at a nighttime.
Yeah, yeah, that would be very pleasant.
what might be, if, it's up to you, but if you want to see just the campsite and meet Kevin and Grace, Kevin is the director of historic curatorship. And he basically is in charge of the camp buildings right now, even though the local staff takes care of everything. And Grace is his assistant. And there is a plan for the preservation and everything. The stabilization work is done to the roof, the structure, and the piers underneath, but everything else. So there's 2 or 3 things we could do. We could go to the camp and just take a walk around the camp and interpret that for you, which might help you understand. You asked me what's the point of interpretive plans, and I don't think I answered you well, so maybe that would help. And we could show you the buildings, and we could do it at a time when Bill would be available, which would be after 3:30 on a weekday. Or if you would like to meet Kevin and Grace and get into it in more depth about the building and the work they're planning, we can arrange at a time. They would like to do late morning, early afternoon. So I don't know, that's not going to work for Bill.
I would say, why don't you set something up?
Yep,
It's 2 days, that's fine.
okay,
Let the entire group know, everyone who is available, I'm sure available, like nobody from that. I've already seen things. Already seen everything. Set it up and email us with what you're gonna do once
Okay.
or twice. and-
Okay.
I'll make it, as long as it's September timeframe, I think.
all right, so September time for both,
Sure.
okay. All right, so, because I have dates in July and August that they weren't available, so now I'll contact them and say we prefer September, because it is hot there now. So, all right, does that work for you? Ben?
Yeah, and we conceivably could get away.
Yeah, I just thought
If
Okay,
it's during the season.
well, I was thinking if we could push Kevin off to like 2:30
Yeah,
and let him do his thing, and then you could come up after. But,
Yep.
so when you say 2 days, the camp is probably 45-minute interpretive if you want the full experience. And that would be within easy walk of the headquarters building. The other, including the interpretive element, is probably 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
hours.
So, I guess we can set dates for both of them, or just you guys, do you want to tell us what dates you're not available in September, or don't
You
you?
want to pick a date in August after 3:00. So Patrick can join us, he's at school all day.
Okay, yeah,
So you can see the camp, the hour. You get the overview of the camp.
sounds good. So August,
And then perhaps in September with, what's his name, Kevin,
Kevin, okay, all right,
do the full.
okay. So I've got dates here that why don't I just give you, these are dates that I'm not available. I had Kevin and Grace, but I'll leave out in September. So if you want to pin something down, the dates when
The next means no.
X means we're not open, and I lined out several days when they're not available.
Anybody got a preference for a particular day of the week? Week of the 20th looks like it'll be a great week.
Yes,
It's 20th, yeah.
so that's Sunday. So if you want to do a weekday, I'm open everything.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Okay.
any day better than Brian and others.
I can do, I can do the afternoons, I can definitely be there. The afternoons,
I
but
understand, pick a number, give us a number.
I would say I can do the 23rd, 24th, or the 25th.
All right, 23rd. 23rd, 3 p.m. And we can use the 24th for, if there's a rain,
Okay,
where the sun's going.
Yeah.
That sound good to everyone that wants to join us?
okay.
They're one very cold day with people.
Yes, I know. I had Joan crawling through the bushes and everything. We did tick checks after.
And then you can email us in September.
Okay.
That fits Kevin's schedule.
Okay, so,
Late.
Yeah. oh, do you have July? Yeah. It's me. So I'm sorry, in September, is it still 3:00 or is that any time of day?
No, you said they want late morning.
Yeah, they
So
do.
I figure if we get, 3:00, where Patty can do this, we get some.
Okay,
All right.
I am so excited.
okay,
And then, at 10, 11 o'clock for Kevin to give us the full 3-mile tour.
oh, I don't think.
No,
Kevin
no,
will do
no,
the
Kevin's
3-mile
not
tour.
interested in the 3 mile.
No, Kevin is just going to talk about the preservation work and he's going to show you the plans Kevin is,
So actually,
Next.
if Kevin is free at 3 in August, that would be a good time to meet with him and see the campsite area.
Okay.
yeah,
What I'd probably do is suggest I'm running guided hikes at the last Sunday of each month. So if you're interested, I'll just make the last Sunday in September the hike at the forest, and we'll just do the loop that encompasses the historic district. And whoever wants to come and join me on that Sunday is free to.
yeah, that sounds good.
So that would be the 4th of September
Yes, Sunday at 1.
at 1.
Yep.
24th of September, 1 p.m. Is that okay with that? Joining the cell for more than the company members?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And what time, Bill?
1.
1:00.
You okay to do it, buddy?
Yes, I will be okay to do. Assuming something else doesn't go wrong, yes.
If not, I can do my best if.
And my
not available.
gallbladder.
Something here for all of us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just one question. Do you have to post both meetings? Because
No.
okay,
No decision making is taking place.
okay,
Not meetings, they don't have to be.
okay, good. Good. All right. Everybody stay safe and cool. What?
Stay for 5 more minutes.
Okay,
I got back from my trip. We picked up our historic commission mail. And I received a letter from Gray and Pape, Heritage Management, Providence, Rhode Island. And the letter stated, I won't read it, basically it says that they are doing archaeological evaluations because they're going to be replacing the wooden telephone poles on the high power line that passes through Millbury, Grafton, Upton, Milford, Medway, etc. I guess they're required to do evaluations every place they're going to put pole in. So since I got the letter, and the letter was 6 weeks old, they'd already done most of the work. But they were more than generous and willing to meet with us. So Russ and Joan and I met with 2 ladies yesterday morning at Gore Road. And basically they showed us that they found some artifacts. They didn't show us the artifacts because they'd already taken them back to Providence, I guess. But they found a sellable. And they were working on a evaluation of who sellable was, All they had at the time was the 1851 map of Upton showed C wood on that property with two structures. So I went back to the Historic Society. I looked at a 1798 map which showed that Ezra Whitney owned that property. I went over and looked at the registry of deeds, and I found immediately a deed from Ezra Whitney to Claflin, 1824. So
Claflin wood?
Claflin had to be the C wood of the 1851 map.
Mm-hmm.
So I emailed it to the lady and told her that it looks to me like the structures are in the deed such that they were probably Ezra Whitney's property when he sold it to Claflin Wood. He was a young fellow at the time. And that's probably the cellar hole that they found was Ezra Whitney's house. 18th century at some point. So they're just going to add that to their files for their records when they finish their research on it.
Did they have any GPS points on it?
And that's
Said we didn't ask, yeah.
Okay, do you know if it's in back of the new Claflin Road development? Claflin Farm Road off of,
This would be something that's within the easement, the transmission line easement.
is within the.
If you're standing on the floor and there are 3 sets of power lines.
Yep, right.
Center set. The first 2 holes on that center set up from Hopkinton Road. Right beside that.
So the first 2 poles on Gore Road. So I guess what I'm trying to determine in my head is if it's state property
That sounds like private property.
or private, and it doesn't sound like state property.
Power lines.
Right.
Well, some of
but,
that's state.
That
Right.
is state property.
Well, it could be.
It could be.
Some of it could be, and if it is, then the DCR archaeologist should be
But I mean,
contacted.
it's just.
So there's off of Gore Road, more or less ends at an empty area which people use to park at. Is it close to that?
It
We
was,
parked in a parking area and we went to the right. So it's a little bit inside. Go.
So
So-
between Gore and the
Hopkinton?
Hopkinton Road?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not
very, that's not.
Actually,
40 feet.
Yep.
okay, and I'm trying to think who might have
and
owned.
you wouldn't see it because it's all overgrown and it's filled with poison ivy.
And I believe that land is owned by is part of the property that's included with the house that's there. Because that property extends over on the other side of the power line. But so I do have a question. So they talked to you about that particular cellar hole. I'm aware there of at least, I'm aware that there is the remnants of a mill on the Mill River, as it is, very close to, or actually
Peppercorn.
Peppercorn. So there are undoubtedly other archaeological resources along that corridor within Upton. But they just talked to you about the cellar hole, this particular cellar hole.
Talk to about that particular cell hole, which is next to a pair of poles too. Right.
All right.
Poles. And they said 3 poles in from that going north. There may be some Indian artifacts, but they haven't done the work yet.
Yep.
It was mentioned, I think, by
3 poles going north
That-
could be state.
some research may have been done years ago when the poles were in. And I was wondering, Dawn, if you knew of anything in our archives that might relate to work that was done years ago on that, in that area.
Sure.
That was
Sure.
1930s, maybe? You mean
Well,
years? Well, they bought the land, some of the land was bought from Knowlton. Some of it was not bought, but some of it was bought from Knowlton. And that might be the part that comes through the Indian area. And then there's some that was obtained in the 1930s and became the state forest. And I've got the map, or the Historical Society has a copy of that map too, of the parcels and where they ended up. I'm going to look at Bob Such's map and see if I can find.
Yeah, it's just they did some work near the old mill site and they damaged it.
Yeah, because the mill site on Peppercorn, that's very interesting.
Yeah. But they did some pole work there and they dislodged some of the structure, which I was a little disappointed to see. And there's actually another mill site where Crockett Road crosses over, actually, in any case, where Crockett Road crosses through the easement area.
Just,
Is that site from where?
Well, it's at the Milford border, so.
yeah,
A couple miles.
Yeah.
South.
Yeah.
right.
Southeast.
There's also, from where they are, and you're talking, so where you describe between Hopkinton Road and Gore Road, and then 3 poles north of Gore Road,
Which would be the other side of Gore.
okay. Okay.
That side. Yeah.
My concern would be, but I don't think they're quite there, is that there's another cellar hole, which was Gore and Gore. And that was another mill. In fact, according to Hopper, there were 3 mills in that area. 3 dam sites, I should say, 4 mills. But the dam, if you know where to look under the water in the dam, it's in the mill, in the brook, you can see the stone floor of the mill. And that was Gore Mill. And then we have found a cellar hole that goes with Gore, the other side of the dam.
That's not on the house.
No, that's why I'm saying when he was talking 3 poles north. Yeah,
We didn't walk up to the they just told us that they had done the work. So, yeah.
okay. I'd be curious about the artifacts. They took them back. That's not really their property, is it?
I asked what they would do with the artifacts, and I'm going to ask. And the answer was the state takes ownership of it. And they go to some museum,
There were some shards of
pottery,
pottery. And
plates or
Yes.
plates.
So that could either be Mass Historic or it could be DCR, one or the other. But when they have the power line easement, which doesn't mean they own the property.
She said. Some of it's easement, some of it's ownership.
Right. Yeah, I think coming off Warren and up Pratt Hill, that's an area I'd be concerned about, and they do own it.
this young woman that was the lead person, she's been working business for a very long time. I mean, I said she was young, thinking,
She said she's been there for 25, 30 years. So
Yeah.
she looked about 50-ish.
yeah.
Okay, all right, interesting.
Could have been wrong.
But I'm surprised you weren't contacted about more. That's what I'm thinking.
More sites along the.
Yeah, especially Pratt Hill, with the Native American, a lot of Native American stuff.
He did.
Two places.
Well, maybe they're not even doing the.
There's 2 runs of wires and 2 runs of poles.
Yes, and they go,
She's standing, the left-hand one, so the south or the southwest one,
mhm,
it's all steel poles.
yeah, and they go right through like where the town owns the property where the
The other
garden
one
is.
is all wood poles, and she said the woodpeckers are destroying the poles. They've got to be replaced.
Well, I know they gotta be replaced. I'm just,
I mean, that and Wind Power Company, Gray and Pay will be conducting additional archaeological investigations. The National Grid, 323 Asset Condition Refurbishment Project in Grafton, Upton, Milford, and Milford. Gray and Pay submitted an initial consultation invitation letter to the Grafton Historical Commission in March, with the proposed work consisting of 165 structure replacements within the transmission line right of way, the removal of 1 structure between Millbury and Medway Town Line. That doesn't make sense, between Millbury Substation and the Medway Town Line. That's like.
that's a long distance.
Yeah, that's. And in process of planning for the installation of access roads, laydown areas, and work pad areas, and other construction areas as needed. Grand Pave submitted a second invitation letter on December 6th, 2021. So the first letter was 2021 Grafton. Second letter was 2021 for the ongoing intensive survey investigations conducting in 2022. Following completion of that survey, Gray and Peg recommended 15 newly identified and previously identified archaeological sites as potential eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. Of these, 4 pre-contact Native American sites and 1 post-contact or historic site in Upton are located within the project impact areas for structure replacements.
Well, that's strange because
Location.
this chip, if you count the mill, peppercorn.
Well, again, I think they're looking at a very specific area related to certain poles, so.
Okay, but if they've already placed a pole and damaged something, but that's what concerns me.
Go back to and ask if they're replacing all the wooden poles along that route, or if they're only replacing one set,
Yeah,
the one that was next to. Because I think that'll clarify whether they're intending to do the entire run, or if they've only discovered one archaeological site where that cellar hole is, and there may be others that they haven't really. I
well,
mean, we walked out there yesterday with all the rain and vegetation.
Oh,
This
goodness.
is sometime to get trucks.
no.
It's all overgrown.
If you were on the power line between Westboro Road and going up to the old road and where Westboro Road splits, and I'm trying to think what, James Road, okay. So you go up James Road in that area and eventually the road did cross the power lines and it's actually visible and walkable once you get to the other side of the power lines behind Kent's and then go over to Eames Lane. Well, right along the James Road connection where it meets the power lines and up going toward Mechanic Street, there are some Indian artifacts very close to that power line. And one particular pile, which I'm not as, everybody has their different opinions about what different things are, but
Question.
mm,
Do we possess a map of that identifies what both these archaeological sites are?
well, several years ago, the Friends had an a resource inventory team. And Kathy Taylor was involved in it and quite a few other people. We did GPS points. We turned them all over to DCR and they're on an as-needed basis to see
Yeah,
the
so
map.
for the forest land, yes, there is an inventory of the archaeological resources. I'm not aware of there being an archaeological inventory for non-forest land. I mean, some of that land's private anyway, so we wouldn't really have the opportunity
Mhm.
to do anything, so, but no, but at least for the forest land.
But the pile I'm talking about is far as,
Something, an index of all of the potential archaeological sites in Upton, here whether they're in private land or public land. And something came up in discussion of somebody wanted to
Right.
do development, we have these part of identified.
right. The only thing we did was, the state forest parcels, and there's a lot of those in Upton. Kathy Taylor and Becky, I forget Becky's last name,
Wetzel.
Wetzel. They've both done extensive research and I believe they worked with Doug Harris. Doug isn't involved anymore as far as I know because of his health, but I'm sure that they could give you something. And possibly the Tribal Preservation Office.
Actually, so they actually did some sort of inventory of
Yeah.
where the Governor's Landing development is going up because they wanted to see what was there before they tore it all down.
Right. Because I know I was talking to Mr. Mattei a month and a half. And when I first built down on Oak Drive, I used to walk the roads down there to check out everything. And there was an old cell phone on South Street. And I believe when they built all those houses, somebody built those.
Hmm.
And it was a 18th century cell phone. Because I went over to the Historic Society 40 years ago and identified whose house it likely was.
Mhm.
And I don't see it anymore, so I'm guessing they got bulldozed when those houses got built.
There is a cellar hole on the state forest property down in South Upton too, and there's also in the Henderson development. There used to be, it's an old fireplace in there. I think, is that on town land now? The old fireplace?
That actually is it's right on the edge.
Okay, and there used to be this amazing inset. It was metal of a fish, a leaping fish, and I saw it many years ago, but that's disappeared. So, it's not a bad idea to have some type of inventory. It's way beyond the scope of the Friends of Upton State Forest. I'd be glad to contact DCR and find out, Jody could probably share that map of Pratt Hill that we shared the resources. If not Jody, I can go into, I can't remember the name of the guy that took Ellen
It
Burke's
just, it
place.
just seemed to be somebody that was for the planning board. Building commission, such a five houses here, you could have something that says, oh, right here, it's something identified as something we'd like to preserve.
Is there a bylaw in Upton and the planning board would ask them that have you reviewed it with the historical commission? Have they had a chance to walk it? And that way you might be able to identify that something that's obvious that hasn't been inventoried. Maybe there's a need for a bylaw for a developer to come through. I know that when, I'm forgetting his name, Kevin Loberser did something off Mendon Street and there was a cellar hole there. And I know he did talk to Barbara at the time about it and I don't know what the outcome was, but there should be a bylaw.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something we don't want to hold anybody up. So that, you know, for a fact, there's a historic something on this property and, you know, we'd like to discuss it before it gets filled in, bulldozed, whatever.
Happy Taylor had mentioned this to me a number of times that
Yeah. I'm glad to back it.
Just the historical commission and the planning board, or the course included in the bylaw?
Well, I suppose to the extent that you're building anything that disturbs the ground, you'd want to have some opportunity to at least inventory and record what's about to get lost.
Right.
You know, it's not pertinent here in Massachusetts, but I know in England, you can't dig any hole without it being reviewed first. It's a
Right.
historical sites there, so.
But I do think that the commission should be able to do that. And I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to hold everybody up. It means you're going to look and if there's nothing there, see you later. And if there is something there, there should be some type of protocol as to how it's handled. And that could be covered.
Contacted 2 months ago and the guy ripped out the interior of 33 Norfolk Street. Nobody bought the house and gutted the whole thing inside. And we get the call afterwards. It
Oh.
doesn't really help afterwards, but he's not there in the house now, so there's not much we can do about it. He's hurt. But I thought that was interesting, that was an immediate issue to contact as far as somebody could.
Well, there was also a house on Grove Street where they used, I think it was Grove around the corner. There used to be an old schoolhouse. And the person that did the renovations inside ripped out all the old school boards, blackboards, and they went to the dump. Heard that story. So, but again, you know, I know. Too late. But so I'd be glad to support and, you know, Friends of Upton State Forest probably would support it too. I mean, because
But it hit me in that, the comment that I don't know whether it be Russ, you made it or Joan, you made it to the lady we met with, that some research must have been there years ago when the poles were put in. And didn't happen. And,
not necessarily.
well, I said to myself, not necessarily, but it's very easy that 10 years pass, just even 10 years, and that people change, and it's like we're relearning almost all over again.
Because I don't think back then in the 1930s when some of that land was bought, and I don't think there was that much, everybody was looking for where the next meal was coming from and not worried about artifacts, unfortunately. So,
All right, well, the intent for your meeting along, I'm going
Mhm.
to sit in and hear that.
thank you. Yep.
Appreciate your comments.
Okay. They who? What?
Transcription? Yep, your chicken nuggets, okay.
Great stuff. AI. All right, agenda item number 4, Heritage Park sign contract update. Greg and I and Derek at BBT and Jolene. Chad back in June, I was on my trip and Joe signed the quote and emailed it back to Derek at BBT, which is the essence of a contract. Yes, you guys can proceed with making the sign when the kids go back to school in September. So I asked Craig the other day if he would follow up with Derek at BBT and suggest that we would like to visit with him at the beginning of the project, after they have received the stock material, the high structural foam, to make the sign, and possibly with the group of kids that will be constructing the sign. So we can meet the kids, they can meet us, and we can have a dialogue about what our expectations are, so that the instructors as well as the students will hear what we expect this sign to be. So there'll be no confusion or no questions. You answered the questions at that time, so. Thoughts, comments?
I was just re-looking at, the email, first he talks about, contract not being signed, which we talked about. And then he said, let's suggest we wait until Tom Lamont, P&D shop instructor, is back from summer break, because he will be working with the students on the sign. So, sounds like Tom Lamont is the guy to meet.
Yeah, but that's fine, but your contact is Derek, he should get, if you tell him what we just said.
Should we try to schedule, or should we try to schedule something now, or should we wait until September rolls around?
You could try, but I think the suggestion is please contact us. We'd like to come and talk to you and Tom and the students that are going to work with this when appropriate, when you have the stock material in hand. And we can share and discuss any questions with the students and your instructor.
Okay.
Something like that. All right. Agenda item, we don't talk about slow, these items go fast. Agenda item number 5, Grange Building, update of the Mass Historic Commission grant. For any of those here that are not yet aware, the state did award the Grange a grant of $50,000. Back in late June, they actually made the decision before their deadline of June 24th, which was good. So when I get back from my trip, I got a call from Kristen Paulson the next day that they had received a letter. And she forwarded the letter to me basically saying we're awarding you $50,000 for roof siding and painting of the building. And then you must sit in on a 2-hour Zoom meeting, which Ken Paulson and I did the following week along with Scott Richardson, the architect. And Ken and I met yesterday morning, Tuesday afternoon, I think it was, with Scott Richardson. He wanted to go over the expectations and everything else again before meeting tomorrow afternoon with the Mass Historic Commission. The gentleman from there will be on site tomorrow afternoon to discuss with Ken Paulson and Scott Richardson where we are, what are your questions, want to see the building, et cetera, et cetera. So it has begun. Scott started yesterday. Part of the reason for the meeting was to prepare for tomorrow's meeting with the state, but also for the architectural firm to begin the preparation of the bid specifications, which have to be completed and submitted to the Historic Commission no later than the end of August. And I told Scott I want them submitted by the end of July so that we're at the front of the line, not the back of the line. So, not that I have any influence over Scott and his company, but we shall see.
But just in saying that, maybe it will.
Yes. Maybe that's why he wanted to meet with us yesterday, so to get started, because he started taking measurements. He brought with him one of their new employees, who name was Bradley Lyon, graduate this year from BBT, and he is apprenticing with Scott Richardson's architectural firm for the summer, and will be going to Northwest University in the fall for architecture. So cool. Kid here from Upton. So he'll be helping with the project.
Good.
Which was nice. Yeah, I thought that was really nice.
Yes.
So it's in Scott Richardson's hands now to develop the bid specifications and try to convince them that they're not going to get everything we originally talked about done. There's not enough money. He wanted to go and see the bathrooms and put those on the bid, and I said, I really think you ought to leave the bathrooms off the bid, because you're just not going to get there with the amount of money that's available.
When they go out to bid, And we have a roof, we have painting, we have, construction, repairing,
Cabin.
carpentry. Did they go out to bid all together, or we're going out to bid for roofing, we're going out for bid for painting?
Well, we had a discussion about that on the phone last week because my view, everything I've ever done is, here's a bid with 10 items in it. Bid on everyone you want to bid on, and we're going to pick who gets to do each item. And Scott disagreed back in February when I was developing the application. And we had the conversation again. He said that is really not the best way. Best way to do it is a comprehensive package. Have one contractor firm bid on it, and they get the whole package. And that what you do is you put, knowing this is not going to be sufficient funds to do everything they want to do, is to put one or two items in the bid as an alternate, so that the contractor has to bid that outside of the package, such that if the total then exceeds the amount of money, that would get excluded from the work. My only concern is that you package it all like that and everybody comes in and bids 30, 40, 50,000 more than the amount of money we have. I think that means a rebid. Yeah, I want to avoid that. I would rather come in $10,000 or $15,000 under the amount of money we had, and then we can always do something afterwards outside of the state overview of this program. The downside is that anything that's under that building for the rest of the years that building stands, even if that's 1,000 years, it has to be approved by the Mass Historic Commission prior to doing it. So it's part of the preservation restriction that is required both by the town because of CPC funds and by the state because of the state grant funds that has to be attached to the deed in perpetuity. And inside and outside preservation restriction on that building, which basically says forevermore, anything they want to do to the building has to be approved by state before they can do it. And I said, that's unfortunately the cross we have to bear for getting $170,000 to restore the building.
Okay.
So the timeline is, in general, hope you get the bid specifications done, submitted to the state, approved by the state by the end of August. Worst case, middle of September. They then have to put the bid out. It has to be put into one newspaper twice or two newspapers once. It has to be posted twice to the public in some fashion. That there's a bid. They will ask Scott Richardson, the architectural firm, to provide a list of preferred bidders. So in other words, give us a list of the people he's given consent this bid to and tell them this bid's available, along with it being posted so that any other contractor out there can see it, decide who wants to bid on it. And that somewhere around that point, I forget the details, the Grange then has to sign a contract with the state prior to any work being done at that point. And I think that means that the state Grange has to sign the contract, not Ken and Kristen and company. So there may be one last obstacle to overcome is to get them to sign this contract come September, October timeframe. The work probably beginning next April-ish, April, May. It has to be complete by June 30th of next year. Any work done after June 30th would not be eligible for grant funds. So
It might be difficult. I mean, we're the timeframe of how it's put together. I mean, you're not left with weather conditions conducive to doing the types of work that you need done. You know, you only have a small window of time. I mean, they're not going to do roof.
that's true. I think this particular case, the good news is a roof can be done in a day or two.
Yeah.
Carpentry, painting can be done in a week,
Yeah.
maybe a week and a half if carpenter needs time. Handicap ramp another couple of days.
Once it gets too cold, then I'm painting outside.
Oh, exactly. But there's always the possibility that the contractor can come in there in November and do 90% of the work and then paint the building in the spring. Although I suspect most of the contractors would say, no, this is the week our whole team goes out there and do the whole project come next spring. I don't know. Something that's, I'm only a consultant at this point, and hopefully Ken and Scott can manage this program from here on. But there's reporting requirements periodic that have to be met. To make sure Ken gets that done.
Yeah.
So that they don't, because the Zoom meeting that we had with the state, they did tell us that last year they had 3 people that were given a grant that failed to meet the requirements and the grants were canceled. Interestingly, this year, they told us back in April, when they sent a letter to Ken that said there's 3 items missing in the application. I don't know if everybody remembers that.
Mhm.
They said that there was 39 applicants that had submitted an application at that point. Well, they only granted 21 grants. So 18 of the 39 didn't complete their applications properly, didn't follow up with them. So there's only 21 grants. There is an outside chance that if something would run over cost-wise, that more money might be made available. That sounded specious and skeptical. So I told Ken we certainly can't count on that. And I told Scott that the amount of money we have is the amount of money we have. It has to pay you and it has to pay the contract. So that's a general update on any question. You should probably be putting something on Facebook that the grant was successfully received. CPC funds of 120,000 and state grant money of 50,000.
And I did put a post a while ago when things passed, but I can put it over what you promised.
But I don't think you posted anything that the grants, the state grant has been received.
I haven't dropped the money aspect, so I didn't know that stuff was ready to post.
It's public information, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've
and
had
then
numbers of people ask me, so when are they gonna start?
any
It's not say tomorrow.
Any donation?
donations would be appreciated to increase the amount of money available for that building.
Right, we would love to do the
That's fair game as well.
asphalt around the building, the parking area, which is treacherous.
Probably, just a guess, we're probably looking at 300 to 350,000 to be able to do everything that we have done. And only 170 is available, so parking and grading and everything is not gonna get done. Handicap ramp may or may not get built if there's not enough money. Windows will probably not get replaced, although
We can take that, that's right.
Scott Richardson said he knows a lady up on the North Shore somewhere that does window restoration to historic buildings.
Huh.
And I said, that's great, but the restoration work isn't gonna put thermal paint windows in those windows.
Right.
So all the windows are intact. I don't know what restoration you want to do to pay that kind of money if you're not gonna get any thermal back. But those things,
Replace them with windows like these that are basically the same look of the window that they took out.
and I had gotten a quote from Pella for $1,600 a window. And I think there was, I was going to say 40 windows. I think it's 24 windows. I think we're looking at $45,000 from Pella to come out and actually replace the windows with equivalent style wooden windows.
The windows in this building is 60,000.
Yeah, this building's probably got more windows. I don't know if it does or not.
Well, the big windows in that,
Yeah.
in the gym there.
Yeah, so
They did this, they were sent down daylight.
$45,000 to do the rest.
That was 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago.
All right, social media update.
There is a breaking. We have a new social media app that has just dropped. We are in Threads.
Yes.
So Threads has now become one of the fastest growing social media apps in the world. So 150 million users are on it now. I think we need to jump in and create an account for that.
We don't see any risks.
No, there's always risks. I mean, the only thing that's basically people are wondering what the heck that is. It's basically Twitter put on steroids. It's basically Mark Zuckerberg's. He's trying to take on Elon Musk in social media world. So Threads is basically Facebook's Twitter. And I mean, it's growing. I mean, there are millions of users every day. And I think we could one up Historical Society and get on there first.
Thoughts?
I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, so I can't really.
It's
It's
been,
Twitter or any of that stuff.
Do we have enough content to be worth doing?
I mean, I think if we're going to stay relevant, because I mean, not to say Facebook's going away, but I'd say in the next 10 years, I think you're going to see younger generations kind of not flock to Facebook as much. It's going to turn into like a MySpace or into like a Zynga, where it's going to just be put out to pasture. Because that's what happens. The next generation hops up to the next social media app, whether it's the TikTok, Snapchat, or any of those things. Not saying we're creating a Snapchat. I don't want to create one. My students are on it as
So
much.
should we candidate to get a member of this commission that's, under the age 20?
I mean, we can. I mean, we can. I mean, with AI now starting to really take centerfold,
You got any students that want to join?
I mean, they don't live in Upton, but I can recruit them. Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to have something on his graduate side that wants to get involved.
The nice thing with Threads is that it connects to Instagram, which a lot of our current parents and family in Upton and Mendon are part of. So that also might be a draw. Where if we put up, I think, and the nice thing about Threads is literally if we have pictures of anything that's historically related building wise, we could also showcase those buildings on Threads. I mean, that's something to think about. It's not any heavy lifting. It would probably take me 5 minutes to create an account. Like I can do it right now, and it's just easy. You can post up to, I think it is 500 characters, which is double the amount on Twitter. You can put up to 5-minute videos as well. So when we go to the when we visit our friends up in the forest, that can be an easy thing to upload as well.
And Catherine, you got any thoughts on Threads or Twitter?
You might have stepped away.
Sorry, I was muted. I mean, I think it's worth doing. I don't know how successful it will or won't be because it's so reactionary right now. People are jumping on it because Twitter is such a dumpster fire right now, which has like everything to do with Elon Musk and not necessarily the the strength of the thing itself. I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything bad to make an account. You can post the same things you would have posted other places. Like you said, Facebook currently draws an older audience, even though I don't think that necessarily teenagers are going to be the people who are going to be most into what we're communicating about just inherently. It doesn't do any harm to put it out there.
Why don't you make us a proposal, Catherine, to have Patrick open an account with Threads, and we'll give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, I can make you one right now. It's like you said, it's no big deal. But yeah, I don't think there's any particular reason why not to. And it just is a question of whether you have enough content to do anything strong with it, or if it's just another thing that you have. So
I just look at it. We can be the first in town.
you just want to be the first.
Well, because in this,
Any thoughts?
nothing
Nothing against it.
history, people, whoever is the first one gets the recognition. So I feel we would one up the historical sense to be like, well, we started the Threads before you, so beat you. It's timestamped, so they can't come back and they can't refute it because we created it first.
All right, well, I'm going to make a motion that we allow Patrick to open an account with Threads and give it a try with the same content we're putting on Facebook.
1 million followers.
Anybody want to second it?
I'll say
Any further discussion?
nothing about it.
Anyone
Put a
opposed?
picture of you on there.
Russell, you, for or against?
I'm for.
Catherine, for or against?
I'm for it. It's fine.
Donna? Donna? Right,
Or
approved.
Go for it.
Patrick, do you want to do it or you want me to make an account?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'm feeling trending, or as the kids call it, I'm zesty. I'm feeling zesty right now.
That's okay. All right, next item, Upton's 300th anniversary draft proposal.
Okay, got the drafts here.
Lots of conversation about this. Don and I.
Yes,
Gives you something to talk about.
yeah, it's right.
I haven't been there.
We just passed out an agenda for the 300th anniversary of Catherine. I have it electronically to send you one. Grand Marshal, Upton's oldest citizen. Who's Upton's oldest citizen going to be in?
Might be me. Although
Should we have like a competition? Practice like.
I remember my grandmother got the cane, what they call the cane,
Oh, the country, there's something, the king, the town.
the town cane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called something. She
Oh.
got it, she had it for about a month.
And then it moved on,
She passed on. Cane was,
and they take it.
I don't remember if she kept it. Nobody remembers whether she kept it or whether it kept
that
it.
came, many towns don't physically hand it out to the person, let them keep it. They'll just let them hold it for a minute and then they take it back. A lot
One
of
king, yes. Probably more things could have be added to that fundraiser part of it, because that's what the important part is to get the money to.
Right, that's the thing
do
that has
this.
to happen first. And I did report that we have, a line item for the 300th anniversary. It's called the 300th anniversary gift fund. And it was money that was left over from the 275th, and it's $5,891.23. So that's a good little chunk of change to start with.
Is that under our purview?
Excuse me.
Is that under our purview?
It will be available for us if we're the people that are, throwing this all
I
together.
might want to put that as a separate line on the treasurer's report.
No.
Yeah,
Did you get that, Matt?
they'll give you the details.
5,000.
5,801.23.
So when does that have, just that, that's per, okay, just sitting there.
So if we raise money, can it be added to that?
Yeah. Yes, I asked, what's his name, because,
Can,
so that account is there. That would be the place we put money for, use in the future. I also, pulled out the information about the 275th, over at the museum, and they had activities in March, April, May, and June of the year that they celebrated, and the parade was on June 8th, which is closest to the 14th, which is the actual birthday. And I only have 2 copies of it. It's big enough for everybody, but anybody else want a copy of it? Or just get it? Or gets it at the end, gets to keep it up. I can make more of them.
so what do we do next?
I think that we would have to think about a committee of people to work on it, not from us, but I mean from within the town, like somebody from the men's club, somebody from the Bloomberg Girls, those key groups that get involved in these kinds of things. And have them meet, periodically, maybe a couple of times a year as we're getting closer to the time.
It seems that the fundraising piece is going to outweigh everything
The
else.
biggest,
Be able to ask for the funds available. And I think part of that is, will the town provide us with any funds at all?
that was,
A warrant article or something?
and that was one of the things that,
they. The taxpayer dollars.
I didn't ask him about that, but I will. Bill, he was the one that mentioned that to me when he first told me about, the 350's coming, you need to start working on this. And he said, the money's going to be a big deal because you're going to probably need a good $100,000 to run it, because the parade in itself is going to cost big money. And then if you're having fireworks, another big chunk of change.
The Mexico usually takes care of it.
Right, and it will, if we're going to have it in June, then, their fireworks are usually the week before.
That's a good point. If we could put together a committee, then that decision could be made in the committee.
Yeah.
That they will take the responsibility for shouldering the fireworks piece of the fundraising for
Right.
fireworks, etc.
Right, but I
And maybe
think that
the July 4th fireworks could be moved back, which it is anyway,
another week,
as part of the,
Yeah.
as part of the celebration.
June, and late June. I don't think they'd have a problem with that.
And I don't actually have to celebrate on June 14th.
June 14th, I think is going to be a Thursday that year. I think I looked it up.
No, it's the 23rd, the 24th, whatever.
Yeah,
The weekend following that week.
right.
Is there a price for how much did this cost, the 275th?
I don't know.
Average.
I could find out.
And we're raised possible, we had the
The shrines?
shrines,
Yeah, that was a big,
they're the biggest.
I think I did see the prices, and then it was an amazing amount of $25,000 for them,
Yeah.
just them. And I mean, they were
The
making it.
municipal bands will be available.
I know I went to the Marlboro Labor Day Parade probably 10, 12, 14 years ago, when they had the shrines.
What did you say? What was going to be available?
Bicycle bands will be available.
Yeah, but military bands, I don't know.
They're not a marching band, they're a concert band. I have a hard time just getting it for Memorial Day. You need a professional marching band, that's going to cost.
Well, all the ones that go to the Macy's Day Parade and all that, we've got to be able to find a marching band somewhere in the South. Seems to be a lot of huge ones down there.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those bands are amazing. They're huge too. All right, why don't we chair this until our September meeting, and then in September we can talk about reaching out to some of the other functions in town and trying to build a construction committee.
Would that be on us or the board of selectmen?
To form a committee.
Oh, we're gonna take it on us and see where it goes.
I think that it's always been the historical commission that kind
I
of.
guess that's a chair. Crystal, you can see what you say.
Okay. The historical commission, have they always been like the spearhead of the, organization of the,
The society.
the society?
Society.
I think
Do you want me to tell Tom that?
Every organization had put up a display in the auditorium of the town hall. The society, Friends of the Forest,
if the town's
Girl Scouts, Boy
funds,
Scouts.
then Joe Layton wouldn't be in charge of it, the selectmen would be in charge of it, if the townspeople can't fund it, so it would have to be an independently created celebration. I guess we said we're following us.
I was just curious if the historical commission had the authority to create another committee. I don't know if that was,
That's, yeah.
Especially,
I can only.
Yeah. I don't think we do. I think the Board of Selectmen has to officially create it, if I remember correctly.
I'll talk to this lady and find out.
the anniversary committee, still, the anniversary.
We'll go.
We got the.
Did you think to reach out to Grafton then?
I talked with the people in Grafton. They didn't have much to say. But I should contact Dick Grady. And Ann, Ross. Yeah, they were just voted the
Yeah,
leaders of the year, and
Russ-
they were instrumental in putting together their celebration a few years ago.
and rest of it.
Dudley.
Yeah. All right, let's chair this until September. You two are gonna seek a little bit more information. We'll
Yeah.
talk to Mr. Lane about how we create a committee and we can push this further in September. Okay, any other topics from anyone here before we move to election of officers? Anything we've overlooked?
Here it is. But I had something.
There is a meeting next Tuesday night at 7:45. I haven't heard the place yet, but it's I think it's a follow-up on a follow-on of the selectmen's meeting to discuss the future of the Holy Angels and Noble Esteem buildings. It's an open discussion. People that were invited only, I guess, small group of people. So that's next Tuesday.
We all did, but
Yeah.
I believe we okay. Yeah.
Talk on that.
Order of 8, which tells me it's gotta be after the selectmen finish their meeting. It's a strange time.
That's a great time.
Yeah.
yeah,
So they probably have a short session and then they'll follow up with this.
just
Yeah. All right, election of officers. And I'm doing it now because the tradition is after the reappointment or the election of commissions, they should immediately move to re-elect new officers. And Catherine and I were reappointed by the selectmen at a selectmen's meeting in June. And this was the first meeting we've had since that reappointment. So we've both been reappointed for 3-year terms. So I thought a lot about this, but I'm not sure the best way to approach. I think what we're going to do is if anybody has someone they want to nominate for a position, nobody seconds it until we have a discussion about those people that are nominated. So let's start with secretary position. Anybody want to volunteer to be the secretary of this commission for the next 12 months? Everybody speaking once. All it is typing out a few notes for the meeting and posting it. That's all the secretaries seems to do. So it's not an overwhelmingly difficult task. I'm certainly open to that position myself. I've done it before. Donna, Joan, no.
I definitely.
Catherine, secretary? No? Yes?
Craig doesn't want
No, I can do it.
I know, correct.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna keep moving. We're not gonna vote on anybody yet. Treasurer's position. Does anybody other than Joan like to be treasurer for the next year? And you can see it's an overwhelmingly difficult job. I'd like everyone to participate, but. Donna, you want to play treasurer for next year?
I've done that before, but
I-
when this club and all that.
Catherine, treasurer for a year?
I mean, I'll do it if you need me to do it, Joan.
I'm happy to do it. I mean, that's
Okay.
no problem. It's just that, I'm gone for 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, we can have like an alternate situation where I'll do it while you're in Florida if you want. It's not that onerous.
I mean, I haven't run into even having to pay anybody for anything.
Yeah, it's not like a movie club.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I guess it comes to the big ones then, is chairman and co-chairman. And my preference is nobody's chairman for more than a year. We move it around. And hearing nobody else speaking, I'm going to nominate Craig Wines as chairman for the next 12 months. I'd be happy to be secretary for the next 12 months. I can even type with your laptop if you like, or I can bring my own. I'm going to nominate Joan to continue as treasurer and Patrick to continue as our social media chair, which means you're vulnerable 12 months from now if you're nominated for chairman.
All right.
Just a forewarning.
I don't know anywhere.
All right, so if I nominate Craig as chair, myself as secretary, Joan as treasurer. Catherine, do you mind continuing as co-chair?
Sure. That's okay, unless somebody else wants it.
See anybody raising their hand? No. So I'm going to make a motion that I will be treasurer, I will be secretary, John will be treasurer, Craig will be chair, and Catherine will be co-chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
See?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. So effective immediately, those are the positions for the next 12 months. I'm not running away from this, so any assistance you need, Catherine, you can provide.
I was gonna say, Craig's usually busy during the day, so he's gonna be able to hop down to the town and all.
I'm going to challenge you.
And,
You can always reach out to me, Craig, too. You have my email, and if you need me to email anybody during the day or whatever, because you're busy, let me know.
Right.
Yeah, we're all going to help. With the work that I did with the Grange and with what work will come up for the next 12 months, I've done my share in 12 months. Next year we'll do this all over again, see where it goes, but we'll help you through.
Okay, I need a lot of.
You get questions like some of the ones that I was asked tonight. I don't have the answers to, but we'll see what we can find out. Continue to support the town of Upton. That's all we're really trying to do. Nobody bulldozes any more self-help without knowing about it.
I forgot to bring. I knew there was something I had on my mind. What about the window over at Holy Angels? Protecting that and covering it.
Well, my take is, as I said, there was a meeting next Tuesday night to discuss the future of the Northern Christine and Holy Angels, and I didn't want to do anything until I hear what that discussion is all about.
Okay.
So our next meeting, we're going to go back to the regular second Wednesday of the month so that we can get the conference room downstairs
Okay.
as we did
But
before.
we Wednesday and not Tuesday like we always had before.
No, because we can have that conference room if we do it on Wednesdays. If we do it on Tuesday, we can't.
Yeah, Wednesdays we can.
Has anybody ever been in the historic commission space at the Northern Christine building? Because Tom was telling me about it yesterday.
It's the whole museum.
The door is locked.
The door.
There's a door to an office or something. Is there a conference room up there or just an office?
So it's like it was filled with stuff. I think there is a desk in it still. We took all of the stuff out, like the very first couple months that me and Joan were on this committee. one of my first tasks was to take all of the files out of the filing cabinets and like everything out of there and move it into our space and filing cabinets in the in the basement of the town hall. So there's not really, if I recall correctly, there might be a couple of like posters left in there, but there's not anything else that's historical commission in there. The computer that is now, of course, ancient, that belongs to the historical commission is back in the town hall. Everything that was ours in that room is out of that room, but there is, I believe, just a desk in that room. I think I might have a key for it. I can go test it the next time the historical commission or historical society is open.
I would say, go test the key. If it works on it, leave the key to Tom Bear.
Okay.
Because we can let him use the space, but I want to check it out and see what it looks like. He said Paul, the custodian, may have a key to it as well.
Right.
If your key doesn't fit.
So this is the room, if you go into Fay room, and then you go into the next room, it's the one beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in from where Tom sits, it's in the back corner from him, at his end of the building.
Usually the superintendent of schools office.
Of course, yes. I remember that, yeah. Yeah. All right, so our next meeting is September. The second Wednesday, which is the 13th of September. And I have Legion meeting on that night, Russ. That's Wednesday, Legion. Did we make a decision back in Tuesday? Tuesdays. Yeah. Tuesdays are the Legion meetings. I'm changing it to Historic Commission meeting. So September 13th, 7 p.m. somewhere in this building, hopefully downstairs conference room. For our next meeting, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Meeting is so adjourned.